Is this the face of a terrorist? A lot of people do not know and want to know, but with the information that he may be obtained through interrogation, through torture, we might have to find critical information to make this nation safer. The use of torture, however, been a lot of talk on the news about the use of torture. What is torture? Torture is the means of is the act of deliberately inflicting severe pain and possible injury to a person. Many nations use this type of interrogation method to gain information on people all over the world. However, many people feel as though that a form of cruel and degrading and somewhat inhumane type of interrogation method. Many governments use different forms of torture as a controlled manner. The use of torture during interrogation on terrorists such as Al-Qaeda should be allowed. There is a lot of talk about the problems surrounding interrogation of people today, such as the different types of interrogation methods, which include isolation, sleep deprivation, and waterboarding. To me, there's no other way to justify revealing information on terrorists, but through the types of interrogation. To me, a nation stronger, the types of interrogation need to be done for the sake of a nation. The conventional method of interrogation don't work with some terrorists. When dealing with terrorists, you can't just pull up a chair and ask to talk to them and they will reveal different information that you need to think that is very critical for a safer nation. According to McCoy, as stated, once torture began, it seems to spread uncontrollably, partially during time of crisis, and a downward spiral due to the instability of nations across the world today. The use of torture has been widely used even though torture is not on balance, efficient, or rational. It resists appeal to the powerful and the powerless, alike in the time of crisis, according to McCoy. After the 9/11 attack, the United States had took the lead on terror. There was a lot of stuff going around when it happened. Different planes was going on, crashing into buildings, New York, Pennsylvania, to name a few. Even though the use of torture has it's an interrogation method, it has its good and bad. We still have to use it for a safer nation. To me, torture needs to be a part of the interrogation of terrorists. Many governments use different forms of torture as a controlled manner. The United States has been engaged in a form of interrogation method on torture as a global war on terror. While the United Nations defines torture as an intentional abroad, to me there's no other way to justify or not use of torture as a means of interrogation, but to keep each nation safe. Given the thought of use of torture as a means to receive information has pushed many nations to obtain information by any means that's including torture. According to Constantine and Leo, interrogators are trained to observe a suspect in verbal and nonverbal behaviors as a means to determine whether the suspect is being truthful or decisive. According to Anderson wrote an article on terrorists, he stated that we had people who were willing to confess to anything if we would just stop torturing them. Given the thought of using torture as a means to receive information has pushed many nations to obtain information by any means that's including torture. Even though torture is not on balance or efficient or rational, it persists appeal to the powerful and the powerless abroad. Unlike in the time of crisis, according to McCoy, due to the instability of nations across the world today, the use of torture has been widely used. Yes, there are some forms of interrogation are somewhat cruel, but for a safer nation, I believe that it is justified. There are a lot of sleepy cells of terrorists that we don't know about. And how can we know anything about terrorists and what are they planning without the use of torture during the interrogation? We will never know what's going around in the world today if we don't forget what happened on 9/11. As I stated before, articles and stuff dealing up to the attack on 9/11, sleepy cells stating the planning attack of 9/11 and the events that occurred prior to the attack. The loss of thousands of lives that died on that day, a day will never be forgotten. I believe the justification of torture, what if we know what happened before 9/11, I believe that it would never be happen again. If the use of torture during the interrogation on our account, thousands of lives would have been saved.